I'm going to cover the technique for chipping. In chipping, you're very close to the ball with a narrow stance, like this. Notice my shaft angle is more vertical because of the closeness, and I'm gripping lower on the club also because I'm close. As a right-handed golfer, I'm getting my weight on my left leg, my lead leg, and the ball is a little back in my stance toward my right foot. So the setup keys are closer to the ball, narrow stance, weight forward, ball toward the back, grip low on the club. When I go into the motion, I'm primarily just rocking my shoulders, very similar to putting. There's no legs really, not a lot of wrist involved. It's a very simple stroke, much simpler than pitching. Really just rocking my shoulders back and forth. Notice I am hitting the grass. Hitting the grass is very critical. When you hit the grass, it makes the contact raise in the club face where it's supposed to be, up higher. If you hit no ground, you end up hitting the bottom of the club, top of the ball, and it just rolls. You create too much ball speed, it rolls across the green. So, close to the ball, narrow stance, weight forward, ball toward the back, rocking of the shoulders, and sweeping the ground so I make good contact. It looks something like this. Within chipping, the two main variables you're going to change are your swing length and your club selection. For club selection, I use all four of my wedges: lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge, and pitching wedge. I also will go down to my 9-iron and my 8-iron, maybe even a 7-iron in a rare occasion. Outside of club selection, the other variable to change how far the ball goes will be your swing length. I have three primary swing lengths. My small chip is here, my medium chip, and my big chip, swings 1, 2, and 3. Then all my follow through, it will match. So swing 1, swing 2 is a little bigger, and swing 3 is the biggest. So those shots for me, with this particular club, which is a sand wedge, fly about 4, 8, and 12 yards. Okay, so I have small, medium, big. The technique is the same, the swing size changes. So when I use those three swing sizes with those 6 or 7 different clubs, that's how I achieve different distances. Now I'll demonstrate my three swing sizes in chipping. Again, they're here, here, and here, which for me fly 4, 8, and 12 yards. Starting with the small. Now to the medium, a little bigger. And now to the biggest one, the 12-yard carry. Notice even the biggest one, the club never got above my waist. It stayed below my waist, which means I stayed in the chipping technique. In terms of planning a chip shot, the key is learning your carry to roll ratios. Every club you chip with, lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge, pitching wedge, 9, 8, 7, as far as you go down in chipping, has a carry to roll ratio. For most people that I've measured, they are 1-to-1 with their sand wedge type club, something between 54 and 56 degrees. With that type of golf club, the ratio is around 1-to-1, meaning it will fly and roll about the same under normal circumstances. So if you fly at 4 yards, it'll roll 4. If you fly at 8 yards, it'll roll another 8 with that sand wedge type club. Meaning if you use a lob wedge, a 60 degree, it would be on the other side of 1-to-1. It would fly slightly further than it rolled. Once you get down to a pitching wedge, the ratio for most people becomes 1-to-2. It will roll twice as far as it flew. So if it flies 4, it will roll 8. By the time you get all the way down to an 8-iron, now it's actually a 1-to-3 ratio, so it'll roll 3 times further than it flew. So if it flies 4, it actually rolls 12 yards. So what I do when I chip is get my distance to the hole, then figure out my landing spot based on the club that I pick. So if it's a 12-yard shot, I could land my sand wedge club 6 yards. I could land my pitching wedge 4 yards. So based on the math, I know what club to hit. There are times where it makes more sense to use an iron if you have lots of roll space, and there's times it makes more sense to use a lofted club if you have less roll space. So I'm going to hit a shot and show you how to measure your carry to roll ratios. I'm going to mark with the ball where it landed. Right there. And now when I step it off, it should be a 50-50 ratio with my sand wedge. About a 4-yard carry. about a 4-yard roll. So if you follow that same process with all of your wedges, even down to some of your irons, you would learn your own carry to roll ratio. But like I said previously, everyone seems to fit approximately within that mold of sand wedge 1-to-1, pitching wedge 1-to-2, 8-iron 1-to-3. And the in-between clubs, you can figure out the math that's in between. Based on that math, I've placed a golf ball 8 yards onto the green. With my sand wedge, I'm going to try to fly it 4 and roll it 4, my 1-to-1 ratio, and make it stop next to that golf ball. I'll step off where 4 yards is. Now I know my landing spot halfway to the target. I would try to land it on that spot and stop it next to the golf ball. Right next to the golf ball on the green. So all I needed to know was how far the end result target was, then pick my landing spot and do the math accordingly, choose my club, fly it halfway next to the hole.